Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Adoptions from the Heart TV. I'm your host, Amanda Aliberti. Today we're sitting down with Marilyn, who is going to talk with us about when is it appropriate to talk to your children about their adoption story. Let's welcome Marilyn.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good. So you have been in this world for how many years with adoption?
Long time.
Long time. We'll just keep it at that. Can you share what advice you give to families when they're questioning, when do I talk to my kiddo about their adoption story?
This subject certainly has changed over the years. Historically, things were written, especially by Dr. Spock, about prolonging discussions. But what we have always instructed is that you want to discuss adoption from the time you bring the child home from the hospital, or if you do a toddler placement, at those early months when you're first coming home, you have that opportunity. It could be at night when you're putting them to bed or getting ready for a nap, just discussing their beginnings and how they came into the family so that you feel comfortable sharing that information. And then as they want to ask more questions or delve into more details, then you can provide more and more information. But there shouldn't be a child who's over the age of 12 who doesn't have the basic understanding of how they came to their family.
I think a lot of families question it because they're scared of, like, what if these become heavy topics that I have to start talking to my child about? You know, is it appropriate to be talking with a 3-year-old about some of these heavy conversations? What do you say to folks who have that perception?
As these topics come up, and we're in the post-placement process, we are instructing families on these different subjects. So you certainly should use the agency as a resource and go back to the counselor, the social worker, and get that information and review kind of how you would bring up certain subjects. There are some things obviously that aren't appropriate to discuss with a toddler or a young child. And there are ways to discuss things like perhaps clients in the birth parent realm maybe made a bad decision, but that doesn't mean that they're a bad person. So I think sometimes that gets a missed message where the idea of caring and having kindness toward explaining the information gets lost in translation when they're trying to discuss difficult situations.
I know, Marilyn, you are a big believer in respect, specifically that adoptees have the right to be heard, to know their story, good or bad. Talk to us about that.
I think the worst for me, as one of the hats I wear, is helping our clients when they're searching. And what comes across repeatedly is that for some reason, often the adoptive parents shut down the adoption discussion. So when they have a chance to actually open up and discuss just how are you feeling about this right now, those things are all clouded over and there's no in-depth discussion in how they really feel about things. We provide medical information. That medical information is a treasure to be given to the child at some point to be able to share all that background information. I can't tell you how many times I discuss this with them and they have no idea what I'm talking about. And it's very rare that a client will call me and say, my parents gave me this medical information and I'm able to review that and see what was in my medical history. Some don't even know their birth mother's birth date, first name. There are some essential pieces. I had a gentleman call me the other day. He didn't even know the name of the hospital where he was born. So it's very unfortunate that sometimes adoptive parents feel that they are the gatekeeper of that vital information that should be shared with their child.
And would you agree there has definitely been, I don't know if transition is the right word, open adoption has evolved and grown tremendously today versus 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And you see that with adoptees that call in. And I think it does tend to be the older ones that maybe don't have as much information versus newer placement situations.
Absolutely. And I'm just thrilled to see the prospective adoptive parents who are entering our programs now, because they want to learn and absorb as much as they possibly can before they're even placed with a child. So they're trying to learn as much, read books, expose themselves to actually establishing a relationship with other birth parents so that they can understand what it is in the event that maybe with their placement, they don't actually have a relationship with a birth parent.
Yeah.
They'll understand what is that so that they can translate all that information to their child.
Well, and I think that's why we do what we do here at Adoptions from the Heart, why we put you through these educational classes. It's not just so that you can put on paper that you took training. It's to prepare you. You may not have the opportunity to meet the birth parent of your child, but you will definitely learn about the birth parent experience as a prospective adoptive parent through our program and the community that we try to build for our clients.
For sure.
So it's really...
And so as those years go on, maybe you feel like you don't have a need to participate in any of the Adoptions from the Heart activities at that time. And then as the years go on, then maybe you circle back around and then you are interested in things. So we're never more than a phone call or a text or an email away to rekindle all that information and make that connection again. And that could be the adoptee who's calling. And I have a lot of younger school-age children now who are calling, and through the agency we've done pizza parties and had fun activities that the kids can participate in and share among each other and have that camaraderie so that when they want to bring up these subjects, they feel like they're in a group of supportive other kids who understand, hey, I have some of those feelings sometimes too.
Absolutely.
And some of them have fostered lifelong friendships. And you see that when you're at the agency picnic and look across the field and see all those children who all came to their families in the same way, and they feel that connection.
Because you're never alone, right? You always have somebody else that you can lean on for support, and I think that's what we try to foster here at Adoptions from the Heart. So biggest takeaway from this is talk to your kids about their story, right?
Honesty is always the best policy.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you do have questions or you are struggling, reach out to your local office, connect with a social worker. Regardless if they were the social worker that worked on your case, we can provide that support and guidance. Don't wait. Don't let your child grow up not knowing their story because it's much harder to unpack if you haven't started that process. So thank you. We appreciate you sharing, and we're hopeful that this can help our community. Thanks so much, guys, and tune in next week.